Financial Source webinar will be led by our presenter, Tim Vohar. Tim Vohar is a supervising broker for an office of 25 top producing agents in Norfolk, Virginia, as well as the director of education and training for his firm of over 400 agents. Tim has been licensed for over 20 years and currently trains, educates, coaches, and mentors both experienced and newly licensed agents. He develops, writes training materials including CEPL and broker management courses, and his real estate passion is ethics and agent empowerment and development. We are very excited to have Tim present. So let's get started. I'm going to turn things over to our presenter. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes. All right. Role has been changed to you. Take it away.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone that's out there. I know we have some West Coast people and we have some East Coast people and people in between, so welcome to everyone. I'm very excited to present to you and share with you today on today's topic of funding your unexpected expenses. Now, I know that this is a webinar, so it's kind of hard for interchange, but if you do have questions along the way, please drop those in there, and Brittany will, and I will discuss those at the end of the class, as she stated. So let's just kind of jump right in here. All right, just a little bit about myself. I've been licensed since 1999 in Virginia and 2004 in North Carolina. I've been instructing in real estate, on real estate, since 2002, and I've been a full-time instructor manager since 2006. I'm a certified ethics and certified fair housing instructor, as well as a certified REBAC, GRI, and continuing education instructor, and I'm also licensed to teach principals in Virginia. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I had a little bit of background in teaching, and that's where we're going towards. All right. If you answer no to the following questions, I'm going to ask you to please reassess immediately what you're doing with your real estate business. Do you have a business plan? If you don't have a business plan, how are you working your day-to-day? How are you working your finances? How are you working, period, if you don't have a business plan? You are your own independent business entity. You are your own CEO. So if you don't have a business plan, get one. If it's on a napkin, great. If it's in a spreadsheet, great. If it is some type of written down document, that's what we're looking for. Just start somewhere. Second question, do you have personal and business banking accounts? Are you separating your money? I understand it might be a little difficult at times for certain people that are getting started. Pay yourself like you're the business owner. Treat yourself as an employee as well as the CEO of your company. So set up separate business, personal banking accounts. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the slides today. But if you can answer no to those questions, you need to reassess today how you're going to complete and finish 2020 and make yourself do a business plan and make yourself do and set up personal and business banking accounts. All right, please, I ask you, reassess yourself today. All right, let's start with this. IRS, I'm sure there were some groans when the screen popped up. There were some moans. Everybody's like, wait, this is not what we're here for. We want to know the unexpected expenses. We want to know where we need to be prepared, how to be prepared for them. Well, I'm going to tell you from 20 years of experience, the unexpected expense is April 15th. That's what gets the majority of people. When you get into this business, you've got to plan for April 15th from the get-go. You got to start planning today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Plan today. You have quarterly payments. You're self-employed in most cases, so you have quarterly payments that are due. So I've put on the slide here the dates that they're due if you're not aware of that. Those are 4 times a year. So you've got one coming up April 15th. And with those quarterly payment dates, you can help keep yourself on track so that when April 15th, 2021 rolls around, you're not looking for extra money. You're not in an emergency situation. So it's best to work, plan, and focus on those quarterly payment dates. All right, I hope everyone that doesn't have them has them down. If you don't have them down, don't worry. At the end, Brittany will be sending a link that will be available on February 20th for you to be able to review this and have those dates. All right, moving over to the 2020 tax brackets. You've got a plan for 12 to 37%, whatever your income bracket is. You need to plan, you need to budget, you need to save your money. That's why it's better to have a separate business account so that you can have your taxes separate. Plan for that 12 to 37% tax bracket. Save that money. Don't spend it. Don't go buy Starbucks or ice cream or whatever it is on a regular basis. Start saving those dollars, save those pennies, and budget yourself so you have that money. You also have to calculate that self-employment tax. Someone's got to pay it, and it's got to be you. So you're going to have to pay that Social Security tax. Budget this year for 15.3% of every dollar you got into that self-employment tax. So please make sure you don't forget that, because that's very important when you're working on your budget. And then if you're in one of the states that doesn't have state taxes, great. You're ahead of everybody else. The rest of us, we've got a budget for what our state taxes are. So please make sure you check with your accountant or your state tax websites and get what that tax rate is for your individual state so that you can budget appropriately for those taxes. One of those things that people just don't take into consideration is the state tax and that self-employment tax when they've done their other taxes, but they forget those other two. So don't forget them. Now, over budgeting. One of the greatest things that you can do as a self-employed contractor is to over budget for your taxes. Because if you save too much money for your taxes, you won't be short when it comes time to pay for your taxes. So if you think you're in a 12% bracket, give yourself a couple more percent. If you're in the 37% bracket, which is the highest right now, that's fine. Maybe give yourself an extra 1 or 2% just so you have the extra dollars. And if you're anywhere in between, give yourself an extra couple percent, 1, 2%, so that you're over budgeting. It's not going to hurt you to over budget and put more money away. If you under budget, that's when the emergency shows up on April 15th when you don't have the money to pay. So work on the over budget, over analyze yourself, and put a little extra money away. And if you can and you want to, set up 2 business banking accounts. Set up a checking account and then set up a savings account and use the savings account just to put the money that you're saving for your taxes. So put that money aside, save it, don't tap into it, don't try and use it for anything else, save that money just for your taxes. I'm going to talk a little bit here in a few minutes about setting up another account or putting money aside so that you have it for that emergency that's not called taxes. And as it says on the slide here, please do seek advice from your tax attorney or your accountant. This is just general information that I've learned and gleaned over 20 years of helping people sell real estate. Also, these are 2020's numbers. Next year, this information may be outdated, so make sure you update the tax brackets and the tax information rates for next year, 2021, if you're saving this. All right, there is an IRS Tax Calculator online. It's a tax withholding estimator. It's a standard calculator for a W-2, not a 1099. Now, many of you are probably 1099 employees, and that's okay. The W-2 calculator will help you go through the process of giving you a ballpark where you are on your budgeting for your taxes. Again, it's not a W-2, it's not for a 1099, it's for a W-2, but it is definitely a helpful tool that will be a good resource to get you started if you don't have a tax attorney or a tax accountant or an accountant or a CPA or what have you to help you with the process. So check this out. Start your process, start your budgeting. This will help you. Also, Brittany, I think I mentioned it was February 20th. It is Friday, February 21st that this presentation will be available online. So if you're taking notes, February 21st, this will be available so you can get this link, and then the other references will also be available with links that you can check out some of the information that I'm talking about here today. Moving on to the tax surprises. Select a CPA, financial advocate, knows your business to help you with your taxes. When you talk to somebody, make sure they're real estate. They understand real estate, especially real estate in your area where you're working. All right, so a friend in a different state might be a great person to have a conversation with, but not necessarily someone that you want to be having do taxes for you or business planning with. So make sure you find somebody in your state, your locale, somebody that you understand, somebody that you trust, somebody that you believe in that will help you with your taxes. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a friend, doesn't matter, but make sure you're having a conversation with somebody about your taxes and what % you're putting away. The NAR, they're using this rule of thumb of 30%, so that's a great minimum to start with from that 30% structure. Keep your taxes, keep your records, keep your expenses, keep your deductions, keep it as clean as possible. There's a number of apps out there. I'm not going to endorse any because there are so many and everybody has different makes and models of phones and they just operate and function differently. So I'll say to you for app purposes, try an app. If it doesn't work real good on your phone, get rid of it, try another one. But read the reviews before you download. Go see that it has the make, model, years, types of your phone, read the reviews. If they have good reviews that match yours, great. If it doesn't match yours, then don't download that app. Try something else. But use the apps, keep your records. Definitely 100% keep that business and personal expenses separate. Separate credit cards, separate bank accounts, whatever you need to do to help yourself, do it. The best way to do something is the way you do it and the way you know you'll do it. All right. Also, they want us to talk about taking advantage of your tax-deferred IRAs, if you have those. If you don't know about tax-deferred IRAs, you can go online and you can do a search for that, and you can talk to your financial planner and business planner. So check with yourself on those tax-deferred IRAs. All right, and make sure, again, I know this is going to be hitting this point over and over again, but pay your quarterlies. Pay your quarterlies. Okay, ads, dues, and washers and dryers. If you've been selling for a little bit, you've been selling for a while, you've either heard or you have paid for something you weren't expecting. Client said, hey, I want this open house advertised. I want my property in this publication, and you weren't expecting that $35, $45, $75, $150, $1,000 advertising, right? So put some money away so that you have that little bit of money when you have those unexpected advertising requests from your clients pop up. Dues, paying your dues, your association dues, your multiple listing dues, office dues. We have dues that we just sometimes don't realize we have. So make sure you're planning for your dues, but you can also put a little bit of money away because come December, somebody's going to usually ask for money. Come July, somebody's going to usually ask for money. And if your MLS is like my MLS, once a quarter, they're going to ask for money. And sometimes newer agents getting in the business, they're not maybe aware that there are separate entities that are going to ask for money as part of your dues. So please budget for your dues, but if you don't, I'm going to show you a little way to put some money away so that when those dues do pop up unexpectedly, you have a little bit of money. And then we all know about the washer and dryer, or the refrigerator, or the hot water heater, the contract language that was not right. Somehow a comma became a period, or a period became a comma. or how the tenant had their own washer and dryer, but it wasn't communicated properly between you as the selling agent and the property manager that you were working with, or the refrigerator that just suddenly stopped working the day before walkthrough, or the hot water heater that leaked the day of walkthrough. So we know that these things happen and we need to plan and budget. The biggest thing is if we're planning and budgeting, we're not going to have unexpected expenses because we'll at least be prepared for the unexpected. So when those things arise, we'll have money put aside, we'll be good to go, we'll understand where we're at, what we're doing, and what we have money for. So we want to make sure that we're working through the process of budgeting and putting that money aside. All right, paycheck budget. Do you have a written home personal budget? Do you have a written business budget? Go ahead and drop it into those chats real quick. Put in there, do you have two? Do you have separate? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Go ahead, type it into the chat. All right, I've got a couple answers popping up, a couple of yeses. If there's people that aren't putting no, but you want to put no, that's okay. I get it. I understand. This is why you're here. This is why you want to learn. This is what you're working for, is so that you have the information, the knowledge to do that. All right, so that's good. So thank you very much for those people that are chiming in there. All right, the cost of doing business. I'm going to start at the bottom of the screen and work our way up because that's the biggest chunk. 50%. Live the life you want to live. Live the life you want to love. 50%. 50% of your paycheck goes to you. 50% goes to your living expenses. 50% goes to your retirement. 50% goes to your mortgage, to your rent, to your car payment, to your life. 50%. That's what you get to spend. That's what you should spend. That's what you should budget for. So if you're looking at $1, 50 cents, that's yours. 30% of that dollar you're looking at goes to Uncle Sam. All right, so when you see $1, divide it out and think Uncle Sam's getting 30% of this dollar. So you just earned 70 cents. You also have business expenses. You have telephone, you have printing, you have mail, you have copies, you have electronic signature software, you have contract software, you have multiple listing dues, you have association dues, you have office dues. So figure 10% of every dollar is going towards some kind of business expense during the course of the year. And the good thing is if you over budget and you don't spend that whole 10 cents, that's when you can buy yourself a new cell phone, a new mobile device, a new laptop. When you have a couple years of good budgeting, good management of your expenses, you have a little bit of extra, then it won't be a necessity that you have to scrounge money for to buy that new cell phone or that new laptop. You'll have some money left over for your business expenses. 5% should go to learning, whether it is online magazines, online news subscriptions, training classes, seminars. Budget 5% of your income to go towards education. The more you educate yourself, the better educated you become, the better you are informed, the more knowledgeable you become, the more experience you'll gain through more transactions. More transactions leads to more money. So please budget yourself 5% for training purposes. One of the things I always like to reiterate when it comes to training, whether you're a new agent, middle agent, experienced agent, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this business. If you're not reading an average of 15 minutes a day, you're falling behind. So please spend at least 15 minutes a day reading, listening, gaining some kind of knowledge or insight into sales, into marketing, into finances, into staging, into decorating ideas, whether maybe it's HGTV, 1 or 2 episodes. It doesn't matter. Just keep learning. Keep yourself growing. And then accept the unexpected. Accept the unexpected. You are going to have emergencies. You're going to have situations. So I'm going to pop back to this slide right here. You're going to have an ad that you weren't expecting. You're going to have dues you weren't expecting. You're going to have some kind of appliance that you weren't expecting happen. If you're budgeting and saving 5% of every check, you're going to have money for your unexpected extra. So please, I know there's an urge to go buy this or buy that or go on this trip or go on that. If you have a business plan and you make a budget, you will earn whatever you plan. You will earn what you plan if you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, I remind you there's no floor, okay? So those unexpected extras, those unexpected extra expenses, they're going to start to pile up if you don't have a plan. So I'm going to jump back over here to our cost of doing business. So there we have 50% to live in life, 30% to Uncle Sam, 10% for business expenses, 5% for learning and education, and 5% for unexpected extras. And that should equal up to 100%. Quick math, because I'm an English major, that equals 100% of your money. All right, so we've talked about this. Items to business budget for, 10%. Dues and fees, realtors, franchises, brokerages, office, teams. Maybe you have something else to budget for. That's fine. That's why we put other there, because you may think about it. You may not think about it. So look through your expenses. Look through your credit card statements. Look through those funny little books that have pieces of paper that are actually money. They're called checkbooks if you still have them. Look through those. Where have you been writing checks for that you might have forgot? Budget for your phone and your internet. Somebody's paying it, whether it's your mobile phone, whether it's your internet at the house because you're working there, whatever it might be, make sure you're taking a look at that phone and internet. Your car, your payment, your gas, your insurance, and don't forget repairs. If you're driving as a real estate agent, you're going to need tires and brakes pretty regularly. So make sure you budget for a new set of tires, budget for new brakes, oil changes. Don't forget these things. You need to budget for your customer relationship manager. Real quick, how many people have CRMs? Now, your CRM might be index cards. Your CRM might be a spreadsheet. That's okay as long as you have something. It could be a shoebox with sticky notes in it. That works. Just make sure you have an effective way to keep going through and tracking it. If you don't have a CRM, check with your brokerages, your local associations, see if there's something that you can tap into for low to minimum cost. Maybe even your MLS has a CRM that's available to you for low or minimum cost. So check those out. That will help you manage your clients. All right, marketing to your advertising. You've got a business budget for it. Advertising is part of marketing, while marketing is a strategic plan for products. So what are you doing? Marketing? Are you spending money on advertising? Are you using print advertising? Are you doing social media advertising? Are you doing electronic? Are you doing SEO optimization? What are you doing? If you're not doing anything, that's okay as long as you have a strategy and you know why you're not doing it or why you are doing it. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. The best answer is, are you utilizing the tools and the resources that you said you would do, that you're spending money on and taking advantage of them? And then don't forget your software, your online subscription services. Make sure you are budgeting for those pieces. They come, they go. Sometimes they're a year, sometimes it's a license. Not sure that there's much software anymore that we're buying that's one time only. Everything is pretty much on a license. So make sure you're checking your credit cards for those recurring charges on those licenses and those subscription services for your software. All right, real estate education. Just over quickly on this, continuing education for your license renewal. I put a little asterisk next to that. Most of us need it every couple of years. Some of you need it every year. Some of you need it every 3 years. So make sure you're budgeting for your continuing education classes if you don't have access to any free. And don't forget the word free. Free doesn't mean free. Somebody's putting something into it, whether it's time, effort, or energy. So it's not really free. It just may not cost you. Your NAR designation and certification classes, make sure you're budgeting for those to improve your knowledge base, to improve your expertise and your experience. Books, podcasts, books on tape. I think the word tape is a little funny anymore, but you know what I mean. Sales and seminars, developing your inner salespeople. Don't forget, no matter what you say, what you believe, you're always going to be a salesperson, because if you don't sell yourself, you don't have a house to sell. If you don't sell yourself, you don't have a buyer to buy a house. So please don't think of yourself not as a salesperson and not read or work on developing your sales skills. Leadership and development training. Studying and utilizing marketing trends. HGTV, good thing. Go watch an hour of HGTV and you'll know about barn doors and shiplap and brown and beige and blue and teal and whatever the current colors are. You also will find that a lot of what they're saying on HGTV and your other TV channels and home reality shows like that, they're going to share with you what the buyers are thinking, what the sellers are thinking, how negotiations are going. It's pretty canny how you can see the trends coming from TV into your workplace. All right, build your advertising plans or how to build an advertising plan. Social media utilization, color, style, trends, staging. Staging is very important and we miss it all the time. I'm just going to point out to all of us that have shown a new home, the majority of new home sites are staged and they look good because builders know if you stage it, people will write offers on it. You don't stage it, you don't have as many offers. All right, new subscriptions for real estate reading. Make sure you're reading those news articles, subscribing to those vendors that provide information for you. All right, the hardest item to save for, because we always want to break into it. That unexpected extra, the 5%, the leaky faucet, the bad boiler, the hot water heater, the car expense that comes to us. We want to grab that money and say, oh, well, I'm just going to use this for that. We can't. We have to make sure we're putting that money aside. If we put that money aside, I promise you it will be there. There's some interesting information, and Brittany will have these links included to the articles. There are 60% of Americans without $1,000 in a savings account to cover emergency expenses. 6 out of 10 Americans do not have $1,000 to cover emergency expenses. Think about that for a second. Let that set in. Are you one of those 6 out of 10 Americans that if an $800 hot water heater in your house went today, you wouldn't have the money to pay for it? Maybe you're one of those 4 in 10 that do. But what about your client who's selling their house? Do they have it? Are they going to ask you to pay for it to make the deal happen, to get the closing to close? Think about it. Is that the check you need? Is that the closing you need to pay your mortgage? And your client doesn't have the money and you don't have the money, and your vendor's not going to accept closing money. They want it now. This is why we have to budget for the unexpected expenses. We have to budget for it. So please start budgeting for that unexpected and don't touch that money. You know what it's for. It's for business, unexpected emergencies and situations, and make sure it's truly a budget-worthy, unexpected expense for business before you take the money. We've all flown, hopefully. If we haven't flown, this is an image from an airplane. And we all have a tendency to want to be helpers. That's why most of us got into real estate. I bet if I put a chat out there and ask people, why do you get into real estate? A lot of you would say, because I want to help people. Go ahead. How many people up there got into real estate because they want to help people? Type it in the chat real quick. Getting a bunch of yeses from people that they want to help people. Well, I want to share this next slide with you. How about that person and those people on the right-hand side? They're there to help people too. But the first thing they do before they worry about helping somebody is they make sure they protect themselves. They have their own masks on. They're there to help, but they're looking out for themselves first. You have got to treat this industry as a business and help yourself first. Firemen are not going running into burning buildings if they're not properly equipped, because they're not going to be helping themselves, and they can't help you if they can't help themselves. So please, 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 please think about that. How can you help somebody else if you haven't helped yourself? You got to budget. You got to plan. Please take this to heart and start to put that little bit of money away for those unexpected extras, those unexpected expenses. All right, who brushes your teeth? Anybody out there have somebody else brushing their teeth for them? My guess is the majority of you are going to say, ooh, no, nobody's brushing my teeth and I'm not brushing anybody else's teeth. True. That's the way I do it. But only you can control you. So if you didn't brush your teeth this morning, that's on you. If you don't brush your teeth tonight before you go to bed, that's on you. If you don't brush your teeth before you go to the dentist and you know the dentist or the hygienist is going to be looking at it, that's on you. That's on you. You control you. You need to control your expenses. Nobody else does. It's you. Do you need the coffee? Do you need the ice cream? Do you need the fast food? Do you need the dress? Do you need the suit? What do you need? I don't know. I like suits a lot, and I see a lot of suits. I don't need them all. I have too many suits. So I don't need every suit just because it's on sale or it looks good or it's the right color. I've got every color. I don't need any more suits. I control my expenses. You control your expenses. Now, this is probably the hardest part of today's topic for me to share with you, is you may need to have a hard conversation with your support system. You may need to have that hard conversation and say, we need to cut back. We need to start to save a little bit of money every month for our personal emergency situations, for my business emergency situations. Here's a budget. Here's a plan. What I'm going to say and emphasize is you brush your teeth. I can tell you all day to do this, but only you can do it. I want to point out that most of you hired a manager or a broker or a supervisor or a trainer or however your company is set up. Go talk to them. Ask them to help you. They'll help you. They'll guide you. They might not be able to do it one-on-one. They might not be able to give you the personal help, but they'll get you to the right person to help you set this stuff up. All right? You got resources, you have tools between NAR and your local associations and your state associations and your firms. You got help. Just ask for it. All right, how do you make it happen? Well, number one, you should have written visual goals. If it's not written and it's in your head, it's a dream. If it's not written and it's just in your head, it's a dream. Once you write it, once you make it visual, it's a goal. So try vision boards. Try college teddy bears. What's a college teddy bear? You're in this business and you have a college student, go to the school that they're at, get the little teddy bear with the state or the college name across the front of the teddy bear, put it by your phone so you know this is why I'm doing my job, so I can pay that tuition bill. Write checks, even if you don't have a checkbook, or use cash. Don't use your plastic because you don't realize what you're spending that plastic on. It accumulates quickly, rapidly. $2 here, $7 here, $27 here, $39 here, $4 here, $1.72 here. It adds up real quick, and we're not aware of it. So write checks or use cash. Put your goals on the mirror. Put your soap. Use soap, I would suggest. It comes off a lot easier than anything else you might put on there. But write the goals on the mirror so when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, you know what are you trying to do. How many transactions? How much volume? How much income? Write those goals on the mirror. Brush your teeth in the morning, you'll see them. Getting ready in the morning, you'll see them. Getting ready for bed at night, you'll see them. So the first thing you'll do in the morning is you'll see them. The last thing you do at night is see them. You'll dream about them. Write them. You can use the four jar method, or 5 or 6. Life, fun, savings, charity, and then education and dreams in the 5th and 6th jars. And you put a section of money in there every paycheck. Divide it up. Use the method. All right. There's a free monthly budget on the financialwellness.realtor page. Brittany will have this link available to you starting on Friday when this video is able for replay. So go right ahead, and you can grab it now if you want to and then type it in, or you can wait and grab that link. But here's a good way to start. Don't forget, other can be a lot of things, so maybe if you need to add some categories, some criteria, that's okay. Do what you need to do to be successful for you, because you take care of you. And one of the things I would like to close with today is to expect the unexpected. Shows a thoroughly modern intellect from one of my favorite writers, Mr. Oscar Wilde. I want to thank you today for your time and your energy, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and for you to stay on with us and listen and learn. And I think Brittany has a few questions now she wants to pop into. So I think, Brittany, you ready to take it back away?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, Tim, thank you so much for that informative presentation. That was awesome. So now at this time, we do have some questions in our queue for you. So for members who are listening in, it's not too late to submit a question. You can simply send a message into the chat, or you can email us at financialwellness@nar.realtor. So Tim, here's our first question. What system or platform do you use to help manage your money?
Well, I have a multitude of mechanisms for that. I like to use several bank accounts so that I have my money separate for my businesses and for my personal. So I would recommend highly multiple accounts. I also do use some apps that are very good from my banking institutions that help me track and manage my money so I know where my expenses are coming from, where my income is going to, or vice versa, I should say, where my income is coming from and where my expenses are going to.
True. So for out of those accounts, are they with the same institution or are they with different financial institutions?
I have different institutions because I do have escrow monies. So those monies are put into a separate institution, so then there's no way, shape, or form that those monies will ever accidentally be commingled. And then I do have my different bank accounts for my business and my personal, and then I do have some investment accounts, and those are through different sources. And there's lots of apps that will pull all your money together so you can manage it. You can just do a little research and find one that works for you, especially on your devices.
Okay, perfect. We do have another question. So for example, what are your thoughts with setting up a separate account specifically just for your taxes, like money that you have to pay towards your taxes?
I think that is a great idea. Is if you have a banking institution where they don't charge you yearly fees for having multiple accounts and it may only cost you a few dollars to set it up, then go ahead and set it up. one of my suggestions is to check with your banking institution and see if they have a low cost or a high interest money market account where there's a limited number of withdrawals you can make, maybe 4, so you can take your quarterlies out. 4 would be good, 6 or 8 is good, but that also limits the time frame when you can make those because they'll charge you extra to take those withdrawals. So check to see if they have those higher interest money markets with limited withdrawals. Those are always definitely a benefit for you too.
Good point. That does make sense. So kind of a tricky question here. Do you think it's a good idea to use a credit card to fund an unexpected expense?
I hate to use a credit card to fund an unexpected expense. I hate to do it. However, sometimes it's what has to be done. I understand we don't all have that little nest egg put aside for our personal, and we haven't yet started to put that nest egg away for our business unexpected expenses. So yes, we may have to use a credit card. I ask you, I challenge you, I implore you, if you're going to use your credit card for your unexpected expense and you have a business plan and you know you have a certain number of activities you need to perform to produce a certain number of transactions, increase your activities. If your goal is to make 20 calls a week and you now have an unexpected charge that you had to put on your credit card, does 30 calls get you closer quicker? Does 40 calls get you closer quicker? Know that putting that charge on your credit card is going to change the amount of the daily activities you need to do, whether it's phone calls, notes, pop buys. And if you're experienced and you know it, I'm talking about one of the big trainers, but there's any system that's out there, they all talk about doing the activities, what's generating the income. So if you're putting it on your credit card, know you have to increase your activities the next day immediately.
That's a good point. So from your experience, can you provide us with an example of an unexpected business expense that you've made?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. One of my early on real estate transactions, driving up to a house, getting ready to do closing, and it's a beautiful sunny 65, 70-degree day in Virginia Beach, and the driveway has what appears to be a small creek running down it. And I immediately thought, oh my gosh, the hot water heater's in the garage. Quickly got out of the car, went in, and the hot water heater had burst, ruptured, leaked, whichever word you want to put, overnight, and there was a constant flow of water. Closing was in 2 hours. There's an unexpected expense that has to be resolved. Client's not around, client's gone, you now have a buyer, wants to buy the house in a couple hours, what are you going to do? So there's an unexpected. Another situation which I mentioned earlier in the presentation, property manager and I got on 2 different pages, thought all the appliances conveyed. Unfortunately, the washer and dryer were the tenants, and tenants moved out, buyer's ready to close, no washer dryer. Property manager looks at the documentation, realizes that the washer and dryer belonged to the tenant, not the owner. So unfortunately, the property manager and I split the cost of a new washer and dryer for the new buyer. So it happens. Wow. April 15th happens, especially to new agents. Those dues that come up, they'll pop up, y'all. They come up. I've seen them. I've had them happen to me.
That's so true. So a little bit back on taxes now. So do you still budget for 30% income taxes when, let's say, for example, you have a spouse that works a job where taxes are withheld and they make the main income? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Still continue to budget that 30% with your spouse putting in, because here's the best thing about over budgeting. I have not met one person ever in my life, and I've been paying taxes now for 30 years. I have never once met somebody who said, oh no, the IRS sent me a refund. Everybody's always excited because they got their IRS refund. So if you overpay and you get a refund, fantastic, right? Isn't that what everybody wants? They all want their refund. Now, I know there's some people that are more geared to the financial part of it. If you're one of those people that is really good, you maybe could have been an accountant instead of a real estate professional, and you know the numbers really good, yes, then you tighten up your numbers that make sense so you have access to your cash all the time. If you're like me and you're an English major and you were not a good math major, over budget and be happy when you get that little paycheck from the IRS at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, however you want to term it.
Okay, good point. So for your online budgeting software that you use, do you have one that's for your business and then one for your personal, or have you found that there's one magical one that can knock out both?
No, I have not found one magical one that knocks out both unless you use a spreadsheet. Sometimes a spreadsheet will work just as well, and I do have spreadsheets that I maintain for that purpose so that I can see where it is. I'm a very visual person, so for me it's easier to pull up a spreadsheet and look at a spreadsheet and see where the money's going than sometimes toggling back and forth through the apps. So that's for me for visual, but I have not seen one that is really good for personal and business because the fact of the matter is the expenses are a little bit different, so they can become a little convoluted. Not that there's to say that there isn't a great one out there that I just haven't been exposed to yet. I'll never say never on that. Just know that when you're trying to use an app on your phone, read the reviews, and if the person who's writing the review and saying that this is the worst app ever and they have the same phone as you, probably not an app to try. If they're saying it's a great app and you don't have the same phone, still a review you should take into consideration because you have a different device. So always look for the devices with the operating systems that are closest to yours because yours is probably going to match and work similar to that one.
Good point. That's awesome. So thank you so much, Tim. So if you could please leave us with a closing statement, what's one more key point that we could take away with after this presentation?
Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's a good point. That definitely is. Okay.
As an introvert in this business of real estate where you have to talk to people all day, I can't tell you how uncomfortable it is and how comfortable I have become over the years. So be comfortable being uncomfortable.
True. Thank you so much, Tim. This was awesome. So one
You're
thing
welcome.
that I would like to add for our listeners, you can find additional resources by visiting financialwellness.realtor. This center will provide you with financial tools, calculators, and a robust library that's specifically geared for you. And earlier we did also mention that there was a free budgeting Excel sheet that you can download on your own to already get started with budgeting a business plan for yourself or for your personal. Go ahead and check it out. So visit financialwellness.realtor to access that free Excel sheet that you can use for budgeting and planning and just to strategize exactly everything that Tim was talking about earlier. So thank you so much for your time. This concludes our webinar. And for those of you who wanted to know more information about where you can find this recording, it's going to be available for your review on Friday, February 21st at nar.realtor/CFFW/webinar. So if you missed any part of this session, we will be posting it under nar.realtor/CFFW/webinar. We want to thank you to everyone for joining the call. And at the end of this session, if you don't mind, please leave us your response. A survey bar will pop up on your desktop browser. Give us your feedback on today's presentation. We would like to thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll come to our next Financial Source webinar on Monday, March 23rd at 1 p.m. Central. Thanks so much. Take care. And thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully everyone got some good information.